0, 1. Let's get started.
Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of the Black and White United Show. I'm your host, Andreas. Thank you so much for tuning in with me this afternoon. We've got heaps to get through. First of all, I just want to say thank you to everybody who subscribed to the channel. We've hit 650 subscribers, which is absolutely amazing. I want to get to 1,000 as soon as possible. So if you've got friends and family that bleed black and white and they're mad Collingwood supporters, get them to subscribe on the YouTube channel. There's heaps of perks and stuff like that out there with the memberships and stuff like that as well. But today we're going to preview the game against Port Adelaide. We've got some already confirmed outs, which I'll touch on. And we've got some players, or one player in particular, in Mason Cox, who is available. So we'll get through the potential lineups and stuff like that a bit later on in the video. Also, we are going to just go over the chat that we had with Sharad Wellingham, which was an amazing interview. It was so insightful for the life of an AFL player, a Collingwood Premiership player, someone who's played at two big clubs with massive supporter base. I encourage everybody when they get a chance to jump on. It goes through about 58 minutes, I think. It was an awesome interview. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you to everyone who tuned into that as well. But if you haven't already seen it, jump on. It's on the live list on my YouTube playlist. Have a listen. He's a phenomenal bloke, and it was such an enjoyable chat that we had. But let's get into our preview against Port Adelaide. So a quick shout out to the boys at RCCS, George and Lockie, where we are going to pre-game at Pink Lemonade at Swan Street, Richmond before the game. I'll be there around about 5:30 for a couple of drinks before we head in. Saturday is going to be an extremely hot day. We're expected for a temperature of up to 37 degrees. That's what it says now. Obviously, knowing the weather, it could possibly change beforehand, but it's going to be 37 degrees during the day. So at night, it's still going to be hot. No fly jackets. I'm not wearing my fly jacket. It's going to be t-shirt and shorts, whether at the G. But it's going to be a really, really, really warm night. So different conditions. I think the last time we went to the G and it was a really warm night was probably round one in 2023 that I can remember, that it was like really hot. That was the day that we beat Geelong. Darcy Moore did that big tackle on what's his face used to play for us. That's, Ollie, whatever his name is, Ollie Henry. But confirmed outs against Port Adelaide. So confirmed outs, we have Jordan De Goey is still not ready to play. He's got that knee bruising. I said in one of my other videos last week, I did go to a training session and I did watch him train leading into round 0, and he looked perfectly fine training. He had already been confirmed that he wasn't playing, so they're obviously managing his load, but he's doing a full training block now. So I think they're taking a very precautionary step into letting him back into the team. I think he's ready to go now. I think they're probably just holding back a little bit, give him that extra week so then he can attack the Bulldogs game, because they've got a pretty good midfield, obviously, with Bont, Liberen, etc. So you're going to want to make sure that he's up for that and not burn him out against Port Adelaide. So I understand the thinking there, but from what I've seen at training and the footage from other content creators and the footage that Collingwood's put out, I truly believe that he was probably ready for this game. But you've got to respect the coaches and you've got to understand that this is what the trainers have said, and we're going to take their word as gospel. So he won't be playing this game. Neither will Will Hoskin-Elliott. Copped a knee to the back and was subbed out during that game against GWS. The reason why Nick wasn't obviously subbed out because they had to take Hosky off. So what does that mean? We've got Dan Houston coming in, so the Dan Houston will probably come straight in for Will Hoskin-Elliott. Mason Cox is available. So does he play? If he's available for this game, I'd probably say we bring him in. Now, Port have got, a few tools. I'm not sure if Soldo's playing, but you've got, obviously, Georgiades. I haven't looked at their lineup or their team or anything, but just off the top of my head, you've got Soldo, Georgiades, Radigalia. You've got some pretty tall blokes, I think Finlayson. So you've got some tall keys there that Port Adelaide have. So we probably have to match it in that sense. And they're probably going to want to bring in some more tools also to match our forward line for their defence. So it's all up in the air at the moment. If Cox is available, now My personal theory is, you've heard me beat this story up, and this is my theory, but Mason Cox and Darcy Cameron, that ruck combination is the best ruck combination in the AFL. I will take that to the grave. I will defend this non-stop. There is no two-way ruck combination in the league right now that is better than Darcy Cameron and Mason Cox. Does Cox fit in the team with the Triple M's as well as Cameron? I believe it can work. I understand that we looked slow against GWS at times, and Pendlebury's already come out and said that on his podcast, I think with Mark Howard, that he said that we look slow and we look boring and stuff like that. Yes, we did. But Dan McStay can take the ruck load, but he can take the ruck load in the forward line, okay, when it matters. Mason Cox can give a chop out to Darcy Cameron around the entire ground when needed. You don't have to play Mason Cox on the ground 24/7. You can leave him on the bench and rotate him in. I understand it's not like the old days where you got a bloke sitting on the bench for half the quarter. You got to do rotations and stuff like that. So that's fine. But my other theory is there's also no reason why, if you need to bring Mason Cox on the ground and not as a ruck or as a forward, there's no reason why you can't chuck him down full back and keep him as a lockdown defender or potentially crashing the pack as an intercept marker because of his height. 9 times out of 10, the only reason why he's going to drop a mark is not from the spoil. It's because he's sometimes unreliable taking a mark. But that's like most of the times he will take it. So I believe you can still play him and rotate him through the back as just to help out at times. There's no reason why we can't do that. Leave your comments down below and tell me if you think that's fair enough, or if you've got any other theories or any other suggestions or anything like that. But I really believe that if he's fighting fit, it's going to be the best thing for Darcy Cameron. Against GWS, Darcy Cameron was easily, like without a shadow of a doubt, in our top 3 players. Okay, I thought Perryman was our best player. I thought Darcy Cameron was second, and his first half probably an Ed Allen was his second half. Obviously, he died off, and then a Josh Dacos, and he was like pretty much like had no major impact. So that's saying something about the whole side. But for Darcy Cameron not to have that support that Mason Cox gives non-stop and dragging McStay out of the forward line isn't a good combination. And Darcy Cameron still was one of our best players. So you can imagine if he's got 110% support. That's just my theory. That's just my... When we won the flag, when you had Ash Johnson and Billy Frampton rucking, when Cox and Cameron were missing in 23. They came back into the side. When they came back into the side, we won the flag. This combination does not fail. People are quick to jump on Cox and say, no, he's not, he's not in our best 23. They said his role for the team and what he allows other players to do in their role is the best thing for the Collingwood Football Club at the moment. Now, he could be out of form, have a shit game, fine. He gets dropped, whatever it is. But if he's available, you need to give him every opportunity to play this game. So it was reported that Josh Dacos had a sprained ankle, but he will be available. He'll have a managed load during the week and then obviously hit Saturday fit and firing, so he'll be fine. Jeremy Howe will also be assessed. He obviously did cop that friendly fire knock. He got back up pretty much straight away. My personal belief is that when he copped the knock, he went down a bit easier, maybe to draw the free kick because he got up pretty quick. He will be assessed. If he's got concussion symptoms, all right, fair enough. I was wrong, but he should be okay to play. He obviously did come back out. Markov, excuse me, Markov has I think a strain in the calf or something that he injured in the last training session before the GWS game. So that's the reason why he got omitted, and Ned Long obviously came straight in. So there's another concept there. Does Ned Long still play, or does Mason Cox come in? If Ned Long goes out, I think Cox is a direct replacement because they're both talls. Like, even though Long's a midfielder, he is quite tall. So with this Port Adelaide game, what exactly is it that we have to do to beat Port Adelaide? It's pretty straightforward. We have to rectify the mistakes that we made last week. I'm hoping and I pray to the football gods last week was just one of those days where it didn't work for us from the start to the finish. We played lethargic, boring football. and we still were able to dominate. And I think it's a massive positive that we do have to take out, if anything, is that in patches of that game, sometimes I think for the majority of the game, there were patches where we just completely controlled play. The biggest issue is, and this is something we've got to fix against Port Adelaide, is our accuracy in front of goal was non-existent. We can't have 16 inside 50s for 5 behinds when Port then take it up and then, when GWS were taking it up and they were just bang, goal, or scoring from like virtually no opportunity but creating them themselves. The other thing that we did against GWS, and I've got a whole bunch of notes here, so I'm going to try to get through them as quick as I can. The other thing we did against GWS, which we need to fix, is we pushed too high up the ground. So our halfbacks, yep, great, they're running forward and they're bombing into the forward line, but there's a problem with that too, which I'll get to in a second. But they're pushing up too high. So GWS were able to get us on the counter attack, and that's where Finn Callaghan destroyed us. He was able to run back to the back line, get the ball, and run back up forward. But he was running just as hard to go into defense as he was going up forward, where we weren't doing that. The ball would just come over, we were exposed, outnumbered out the back, bang, GWS got the goal. Port can do that to us. They've got players also in like Lukosius and stuff now too, so there's more firepower. I don't want to see a game where you got old heads like Travis Boak, Ollie Wines and stuff like that for Port Adelaide dominating against us. Like, that's stuff that you just don't want to see. Yes, Butters is missing, and that's a big positive for us, but after the GWS game with the amount of outs they had, I don't care who's out for whatever side. You're an AFL team, and it doesn't really matter. We need to make sure we're at our best no matter what. The transition work obviously killed us against GWS. As I said, Finn Callaghan was running, and that's a perfect example of what we need to be doing, running back just as hard as we run forward. Dan Houston is obviously going to be put into the side, which is going to make a world of difference. But for this game, personally, I'm not going to expect him to be the Nick Dacos off halfback. I'm not going to expect him to be the best player on our team. I wouldn't even expect him to be in the best 5 players of our team. He probably will, but I'm not going to expect it. It's his first game at a new club. There's going to be 80,000 people there. It's going to be siphoning hot, and he's playing against his old side for his first game for his new club. There is going to be an obscene amount of pressure on him. So regardless of what he does, whether he has an absolute stinker, whether he's handy, does his job, or he has an absolute blinder and racks up 3 Brownlow votes, we can't expect him to set the world on fire, go in there with no expectations because of the pressure that's going to be on him. So that's just my opinion on that. Is it going to make a difference? 100%. I think it's going to help Josh Dacos out immensely, but we need to obviously keep a cool head and not expect the world. The game against the Bulldogs next week, that's the one where you're going to see DeGoey come in. You're going to see a lot better gelled half-back line with 2 games experience, and we go from there. Not making excuses for this game. My tip for this one, I think Collingwood will win by 24 points. I'm putting myself out there. I do think that we're a much better side than them. Port have had a great couple of years. We don't really know what they're going to be like, as they didn't play an opening round. It's a bit of a hit and hope for us at this stage in regards to what they're doing. But with the game under our belt and lots and lots of pickle juice consumed, we should be able to run this game out at home in front of the Black and White Army. I think we're going to be okay. So I was lucky enough on Black and White United to interview Sharad Wellingham. We spoke about his journey into the AFL system. We spoke about the glory years at Collingwood, so pretty much from 2009 to 2011. We spoke about him leaving the club, going to West Coast, his grand final year at West Coast, and then finishing up with obviously how he left the game. And we did some rapid fire questions, and I'm not going to spoil it because if you haven't already seen it, once you finish this video, give yourself an hour to sit down and enjoy such an insightful and open chat with a Collingwood great. When I was doing the interview with him, I just couldn't believe how open and honest he was. He was answering questions that I had already written down, and it was just such a free-flowing conversation. And it was really insightful to hear from not only a Collingwood player, but a player in AFL who's played at 2 clubs, who's been to the highest of highs, who's seen the lowest of lows. But it was just it was such an insightful opening. Like it opened my mind into the world of AFL from players, hearing it directly from them. I encourage everybody to go and watch it. But I just want to say also, again, like I said at the start, thank you so much for the 650 subscribers. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. We are still getting people watching the show who haven't subscribed. So if you haven't, please hit the button, whether you're a Collingwood supporter or not. It would mean the world. Call it as you see it. Drop a comment below. And as always, go the Pies.